So hi, I'm Matt Holm, and I draw comics. I do Babymouse and Squish, and I did another book recently called Sunny Side Up, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what made me want to get started in comics, and then, of course, mostly just draw them for you live, because that's the most fun of all. So, my first book that I did, and actually most interesting of all, I work with my sister Jenny. She's not here. She'll be here next week, I guess. But you know, you'll have to get us in pieces. So the first book we did together is called it's called Collapsing Baby Mouse. It's called Babymouse. And I'm gonna actually have to put this guy down. I have to hold the thing in place. Okay. Babymouse. And this is what Babymouse looks like. She's usually cheerful. Babymouse. Babymouse. She's happy, she always has a little heart on her dress, and her whiskers are always a complete tangled mess. And since she's a comic, she's a cartoon, she can talk with little speech bubbles like that and say, hi! And through the magic of Sharpie markers, we can add a little pink to the heart there. So that's what Babymouse looks like. And Babymouse is fun because, you know, she goes to school just like most kids, and she does normal things. She still has like homework and chores and all that boring stuff. And during her day-to-day life, everything is kind of black and white and boring. But sometimes when she should be paying better attention to her parents or her teachers, she starts daydreaming about doing something crazy, like flying in outer space, or fighting dragons, or swimming to the bottom of the sea. So we need to have a Babymouse adventure. And then see that she goes through these crazy daydreams, and everything turns all pink, and wild things happen. So I should probably get a volunteer from the audience to come up and help me draw some Babymouse. Come on up. I need some advice. Come up, stay on that side if you would. And what is your name?
Ezra.
All right, Ezra. Now, Babymouse, she could be anywhere, anytime, any place, anything. What is she?
I think she should be underwater fighting an underwater dragon and a humongous giant evil octopus.
Wow. Fighting two different monsters. All right. It's time for Babymouse. Undersea Rumble. All right. So she's fighting an underwater dragon. All right.
Okay, I don't think you should do the octopus.
You don't think the dragon's enough?
No, I don't think you should do the octopus.
Okay. Is a dragon enough for her to fight with?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, enough trouble. And what does an underwater dragon do? I mean, on the surface, they breathe fire and stuff. What do they do underwater? Or do they just bite you?
They use blue fire that is water resistant.
That's good. Let's see. Do we have blue? I think I have purple. I've got green.
Purple would work.
Purple. All right. Underwater, purple fire. That is water resistant. All right. Gotta have some sharp teeth on any dragon. angry looking eyes. He's underwater, so we'll give him some flippers instead of normal claws. And breathing underwater, water-resistant fire. And we should have a special... See, this is the great thing with comics, is that you can have little extra boxes and arrows to mark out what's going on. So we say, special water-resistant fire. Oops, I can draw an arrow. I can draw a dragon and fire, but not an arrow. There we go. And of course, underwater dragon. All right. So we've got the dragon here. Now Baby Mouse. What is poor Baby Mouse doing?
Maybe there could be some sea rocks here.
Uh-huh.
And Baby Mouse is hiding behind them.
Okay.
To make sure he doesn't get burned.
All right, so maybe we're on the ocean floor here. There's some rocks. Maybe there's like one of those weird little archy things happening. Maybe a couple shells. Sea stars. And Baby Mouse is hiding back here. She's in her scuba gear. The one place that her whiskers are nice and wavy underwater. They're floating in the water. And here she's ducked behind the rock. Gotta get some bubbles here. All right, so there she is. She's hiding behind the rock. We've got waterproof fire coming. Oh, we need sound effects. Whoosh. There we go. And what do you think Baby Mouse says?
Maybe the thing that she usually says.
Which is?
Typical.
Typical. Yes. She can be like, trapped underwater. By a magical fire breathing dragon? Typical. This sort of thing happens to her every day. There we go. And what one thing does Baby Mouse always have somewhere on her outfit?
A heart.
A heart. All right. We don't see a lot of her because she's hiding, but where do you think we should put the heart here?
Maybe here.
Maybe here. All right. Let's get it right there on her little scuba tank. And why don't you color in that heart for me? And then don't forget to sign your name. You are the co-creator. All right, Ezra. Nice job. How about a nice hand for Ezra? Woo. Oh, hang on. You need to take your drawing with you. This is actually the most challenging part, is getting the soft melt here.
I have trouble with that too when I'm drawing.
No. It seems so easy. Like, oh, it's the dotted line. No. So that's Babymouse. But there's also another guy that I do books about. And his name is Squish.
I know.
And he's a little bit different. He's not a mouse. He's not a dog. He's not a cat. What is Squish?
Booger?
A booger?
I think so.
He is not a booger. Though he looks kind of like a booger. Let's draw a little Squish here. See, the nice thing about Squish is that anyone could draw Squish. Because he looks a little like a booger. But he's got some eyes. Although maybe he's upset. He says, I am not a booger.
Sorry, Squish. Don't forget the hat.
Right. Squish. Well, what kind of creature is Squish? Does anybody know?
What do you think?
An amoeba.
An amoeba. Right, so we can say not a booger. Say, sure looks like one. No, we can say he's an amoeba. And an amoeba, if you don't know, is jumping. They're very exciting. An amoeba is a creature that's made up of one single cell. It's so small that you need a microscope to see it. So that's what Squish is. He's an amoeba. And you're right, he usually doesn't look quite like a booger because he usually wears what? A hat, right. He usually wears a little baseball cap at all times. And does anyone know what's special about Squish's hat?
I think it represents him.
It represents him, yeah, because his hat has a little smiley face on it. Well, actually, it has a little smiley face, but the face isn't always smiling.
Hi, Matt.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
Hi, Judd Winick. Carry on.
Okay, I'll keep talking about amoebas that are not boogers.
I have to sit down.
Because Squish, when we started out, you know, he looked, as you say, a bit like a booger. And we're like, we need to give him something to make him stand out. So we're like, should we put him in like a shirt? And we're like, that would be weird. And plus, you know, how many arms? Because an amoeba can grow extra arms if it needs. And then we're like, maybe a backpack or something. Like, no, it's confusing. He doesn't even have arms. And we're like, well, a hat. Let's put a hat on him. So we put a baseball cap on him. But the thing was, most baseball caps have a team logo or something on them, and we're like, okay, what should we try? We could try, you know, an actual team. Like we could have like an A for the amoebas or something. We're like, no, that doesn't make sense. Because like, what if we pick the wrong team? Then everyone else will get mad if it's not their favorite team. We're like, okay, well, what if we do like a symbol of some kind? We could do like, you know, a cool star. We're like, that's okay. And we could do like a lightning bolt. We're like, a lightning bolt on his forehead is too Harry Potter, you know, can't do that. And we're like, well, what about a smiley face? So we did a smiley face, which seems good, but there's one problem with the smiley face, which is that, you know, if we have the smiley face here on his hat,
It follows emotions.
yeah, it follows his emotions, because if Squish is angry, like if his friend Pod is making him late for class or something and he's yelling at him, and his hat's all happy, you know, it just doesn't seem to make sense. So we figured the hat should always have the same emotions as Squish. So he's got like a mood hat, sort of like a mood ring. Squish!
carry on.
Okay.
I'm actually listening.
So Squish, he has some friends. You know, he is an amoeba, he's a microbe, but he goes to school and he lives in a house and I know, goes to school, you never get out of that, even if you're a microbe. Even if you look like a booger, you still have to go to school. That's your lot in life. But he has friends there. There's his buddy Pod. He's another amoeba. Let me draw Pod here. Pod always wears a smart little bow tie here. There's Pod.
His friend
And-
Peggy can be a little bit too happy sometimes.
Yeah, so Pod is pretty low-key. He's very interested in conducting his scientific experiments. He always gets caught up in his own little world. But then there's Peggy, the paramecium. And Peggy, she's always really excited! You know, she's cheerful about everything. She's always sort of bouncing around and shouting, and she's like, "Yay! We all got detention!" She gets excited about everything. And there's their principal at school, Principal Planaria. Let's see if I can draw him. Now he's a flatworm. Yeah, he's a principal, so he has to wear a tie. That's how you know he's in charge.
So,
And Planaria, for those who don't know, are cross-eyed. The actual little creatures called Planaria, they are actually cross-eyed. So, of course, Principal Planaria, he is also cross-eyed. People thought we were just being mean to principals, but no, we were being scientifically accurate.
don't forget Squish's dad.
Squish's dad! How can I forget Squish's dad? Yes, Squish's dad. Squish's dad always tries to give Squish advice. It's usually really bad advice or unhelpful advice. Because his dad would rather be, you know, playing video games or listening to heavy metal music or something.
Like my dad.
Like your dad.
But he doesn't play video games.
Wait, this is heavy metal music? Awesome.
Yes, I love it.
Who said that? Who said that?
Nice. And the fun part about Squish is not only that you get to follow his life, you know, in this little tiny microscopic world, but Squish, he loves reading comic books. And his favorite comic book is called The Adventures of... I know, you're like my little resident expert here. This is great. The Adventures of Super Amoeba.
Oh, yeah.
And Super Amoeba, he's like an old school comic book hero. And so there's actually a second comic book, The Adventures of Super Amoeba, inside every Squish comic. So, Super Amoeba, he's got like a crazy big pompadour hairstyle here. And of course a big chin. And he's always positive.
I am not a squid.
You know, he's kind of like the Superman, like from like the 40s, who's he's a little poofier. You know, he's not quite as cut and ripped. He needs to spend a couple more hours in the gym, probably toning up. I don't know. And Super Amoeba, he always says, "Have the courage to do what's right." super amoeba. So there's a ton of Baby Mouse and Squish books out, of course. The 19th Baby Mouse book just came out. It's called Bad Babysitter. That came out in the spring. Woo, there it is. I just finished drawing the 20th book. Comes out next year, and it's called Baby Mouse Goes for the Gold. She's going to be a little Olympic themed one since we're the Olympics next year. So she's going to join the school swim team and try to learn how to get along with her teammates and deal with the chlorine destroying her whiskers, you know, that sort of thing. And Squish, we just had his 7th book come out, and it's called Deadly Disease of Doom, which Squish gets sick with a mystery illness. And it's not pretty. There's a lot of barfing involved and that sort of thing. Yes?
I think Squish should pack 2 Twinkies whenever he goes to school because Pod always wants his Twinkies.
Ah, see now, Squish, his favorite snack is Twinkies, which might explain why he's the shape that he's in. But his friend Pod is a big mooch and is always trying to get his lunch, and especially his Twinkies. So you wisely suggested he should pack 2 Twinkies so they could give one to Pod. Squish, in the latest book, actually has a different solution, which is that before he goes to school every day, he takes a bite out of the Twinkie in his lunch. And then when he gets there, and Pod wants, he's like, oh, you want my Twinkie? I already took a bite out of it. And he's like, ew, no thanks, you know. So, sort of like, you know, brother or sister, you know, like the last piece of pizza or the last cookie or someone's licking it before it's like, okay, now it's mine. I claimed it. Yes. See, sometimes you have to outsmart your friends. You were just going the nice route, bringing an extra Twinkie, but no. Sometimes it needs more creative solutions. All right, so we've done Baby Mouse, we've done Squish, but I'm not the only cartoonist here tonight because we also have Judd. Judd! Come on up.
Sorry I'm a little tardy. I literally just came from the airport, which is why I'm dressed like this. It's usually I don't dress like I've been working at a comic book store. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So, I have a little presentation here.
Is that good?
We can go a little bit more.
Or? Okay.
If we make it as dark as actually, no. Oh, now we're talking. All right. So this is the story about how I came up with Hilo and stuff. You have a question?
I've read both of the Hilo books so far.
You did?
Mhm.
You mean you read the first one?
No.
Yeah.
I'm your rep. Hi.
How are you? You just got the PDF and you read both of them? Okay, I'm gonna tell you 2 words. Ready? No spoilers. You and I are gonna have a talk when we're done here, okay? You and I have the same talk I have with my own children.
Anybody yet?
No spoilers. 2 words. Do you like Polly?
Huh?
The second book, the cat. Like Polly?
I read it a couple months ago.
He doesn't remember.
Even better. Now it's all on the
All
No
right.
danger.
So, story about how I came up with Hilo and stuff. So, in the beginning, so long ago, I don't have my glasses on. Still in focus? You can see okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's me when I was a kid. Really, really, really long time ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And when I was a kid, I liked geeky things. I was a huge fan of Star Wars. I was a very big fan of Looney Tunes cartoons. And I was a very, very big fan of monster movies. Do we know who this is?
Godzilla.
It is Godzilla. And I loved monster movies. Not horror movies or movies that were scary, monster movies. Guys dressed up in big dumb rubber suits, stomping on models of cities, maybe beating up other guys in big dumb rubber suits. And my favorite monster movie of them all was King Kong. So this is King Kong from the 1930s. And this was my favorite. And if you're going to see a King Kong movie, you should start with this one. It'll feel a little bit slow, but King Kong is done with stop motion animation. He looks super fake, so he's not very scary. But I love it. And along with monster movies, Star Wars, Looney Tunes, I love to draw. I love to draw. And if I was done with my chores, if I was done with my homework, I could draw as long as I wanted to. And it was great fun. So my childhood was mostly made up of school, homework, chores, maybe a little bit of soccer, and then the rest of the time was taken up with drawing funny pictures while half watching television. This is what I grew up doing. And I spent a lot of time drawing King Kong. You guys know the story of King Kong? You look, I'm asking these two younger people here. Do you know the story of King Kong? Not really, right? Okay, here we go, real fast.
I know it.
But I'm gonna tell you.
I think like a gorilla found this weird star thingy.
No. Wrong already. You got one thing right there. Gorilla. That's about it. Okay, so real quick, the King Kong part. No, here it is. So King Kong is from Skull Island, which is a prehistoric island just crawling with dinosaurs, and one 50-foot gorilla named Kong. Yes. Last question till the end though.
I read a book called The 13-Story Treehouse, and King Kong was in it, I think, but they were just saying that it was a gigantic gorilla.
Yeah, he is. He's a 50-foot gorilla.
And there was a Skull Island in it.
Yeah, they probably told you where he was from.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more. So, King Kong is on Skull Island, prehistoric island crawling with dinosaurs. A group of explorers, an expedition, comes to the island. They capture King Kong. They bring him all the way back to New York City. They're going to put on a big show. King Kong, the 8th wonder of the world. Except Kong gets angry. He escapes, runs amok in New York City, and climbs the Empire State Building. That's the fast version of that story. You should see the longer one. It's cool. Now, when I was a kid, I liked to draw King Kong. But actually, I used to draw the same King Kong drawing over and over and over again, the very same one. I would always start with the Empire State Building. And when I say I'd start with the Empire State Building, I would draw the entire Empire State Building. I would draw the whole building with every single window. When I was finally done drawing the whole building, then I would draw King Kong atop, and then I would draw the airplanes. The thing is, I didn't want to draw the whole building. I don't know why I did it. I just thought it had to. The only part I really wanted to draw was this part up top. I just wanted to draw King Kong and the airplanes. This is the drawing I wanted to do. For some reason, I thought I had to do the whole building. I don't know why. Okay, so jump ahead. Small Judd becomes less small Judd. I get a little bit older. And I start taking an interest in funny cartoons. If cartoons are funny, I like them even better. I used to read this silly magazine called Mad Magazine. I grew up reading that. And I was also a huge fan of comic strips. You guys know what comic strips are, right? Right? Okay, well, small history lesson on that. So you gotta go way back. When I was a kid, you know, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, there were these things called newspapers, which were iPads made of paper. They got current events on them. The history part is, though, when a lot of us were young, newspapers used to be delivered to our house every single day. Everyone has subscriptions, and newspapers used to come to our houses. And in them was the funnies. You'd have 2 to 3 pages of comic strips. And on Sunday, they were in color and twice as big. And I thought they were great. It was something I took for granted, like turning on the tap and water would come out. Every day, new cartoons would show up at the house, and I really, really loved them. Now the thing was, what I think I loved about them especially, along with the fact that they always tried to crack me up, was that's how I kind of drew. I drew funny pictures. I kind of drew silly like that. I mean, like, case in point. So that's Cat, right? That's what a cat looks like. I can never draw that. That's Garfield. Garfield and that cat actually don't look alike. Well, I could draw this guy, but I really couldn't draw that guy. And I still can't draw this guy. I liked how they drew. So that's when I started doing goofy cartoons, funny cartoons. And that's my mom and dad. They're my first audience. If I could make them laugh, then that was everything. And it was then I decided I want to do comic strips. I want to do a daily comic strip that is in the newspaper and shows up at my house every single day. That's what I want to do with my life. I was like 8 or 9 years old. I also loved superhero comics. You guys like superhero comics? Who likes superhero comics?
Avengers.
Yes, exactly. I was a big fan of the X-Men. I was a big fan of the Fantastic Four. I really loved Batman. I still love Batman. And I think what I loved about him, I really enjoyed the stories. I liked the fact that there were always good guys and bad guys. The good guys had superpowers. You always knew who the bad guys were. They were never funny, though. They were always pretty serious. But I think what I liked about them is I liked those big fights. I liked that it had a lot of science fiction. When I was a kid, the movies didn't have special effects like they do now. So if you want to see something amazing, you had to see it in a comic book. And I thought that was great. And this is how they drew them. and I could not draw like that. I still can't draw like that. But I thought the stories were cool, and I thought this looked cool, and I really, really enjoyed them. Then jump ahead. Small Judd becomes bigger Judd, a little less hair up here. And when I grew up, I became a cartoonist. I was very, very lucky, and I've done lots of different things. I eventually got to do a comic strip. It was called Frumpy the Clown. It ran newspapers for about 3 or 4 years. I did an animated series for Cartoon Network called Life and Times of Juniper Lee. I did 3 seasons of that. And I got to write superhero comics. I wrote comics like Batman, and Green Arrow, and Green Lantern, and an X-Men comic called Exiles. It was a lot of fun. Now, not so quick story. 3 years ago, this is my son. He was 7 years old at the time. And he came to me one day, he said, "Dad." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Dad, can I read some of your superhero comics? Like, can I read Batman?" And I told him, no, you may not read Batman. Because Batman that I was doing was kind of for older kids and grown-ups. It was a little bit violent, it was pretty intense, and he was 7 years old. I really didn't think it was a really good story for him. So we started looking around for comics which would be really, really good for him. And the one we landed on right away was one called Bone. You guys know Bone? Some of you know Bone? You should all know Bone. Bone's a great comic. And I got the first few trades for my son, and he went bananas, and we got the rest of them. He blew through all of them and really enjoyed the story. Now, I'm lucky because I happen to know Jeff Smith. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. So I called Jeff and said, "Hey, you got yourself a new Bone fan, my son." Jeff said, "Great." And he sent us 2 giant boxes of stuff. He sent us action figures and stuffed animals and posters and t-shirts and hats, and my son became a Bone super fan. He was playing with the action figures, like mashing them up with his Batman guys, and he was wearing the t-shirt as often as I would possibly let him. He didn't take that hat off. He's walking around with his Bone books all the time. And the thing was, I kind of got jealous. Because, well, I'm a cartoonist, and I thought, I should be able to make up a story that is as interesting to my son as Bone. I should be able to do something like that. So I sat down and tried to figure out what would that story be. I should make a story that he would like. But the thing was, like I said, I do comic strips and I draw kind of silly and I like things which have lots of humor in it, lots of jokes. But I knew that he wanted kind of an action adventure like a superhero story. But I know how to do those too. So I took these 2 ideas and I put them in a blender. Not an actual blender, but like a blender up here. And out came Hilo. This is Hilo. So that's Hilo, and he's flying with his best friend DJ and his best friend Gina. And Hilo kind of combines both those things. It's an action adventure. Hilo's kind of like a superhero. He's got superpowers, and he fights bad guys. But it's also pretty goofy. Can you see it? It's drawn like the Peanuts cartoons, like Calvin and Hobbes. That's kind of how I draw. And you can probably see one of the jokes in there. He's burping. I like a good burp joke. It plays for a lot of laughs. Even when there's action sequences in there, it's usually pretty funny. But there is an ongoing mystery, like a superhero comic. The story's going to go on and on. There's going to be 6 of these books, and 6 in total. And each one moves the story forward just a little bit. That's Gina, and that's DJ. Real quick, the story starts. This is Daniel Jackson Lim, DJ. And DJ is not particularly good at anything. He's not bad at anything, he's just not particularly good at anything. He comes from a very overachieving family. He's got 2 older brothers. One is a tennis star, the other's a chemistry whiz. He's got 2 younger sisters. One is a ballerina, and she plays violin, and she sings beautifully. And he's got his youngest sister, who is the smartest of the bunch. She skipped 2 grades. But DJ, he's just kind of there in the middle. Again, not great at anything, not bad at anything, just sort of there. Except, he used to be really good at being best friends with Gina. Gina was his next door neighbor, and he was really excellent at being her best friend. But then Gina moved away. And since then, DJ hasn't been very good at anything. Then one day, he's in his backyard, and he sees something up in the sky. It's a big ball of fire which comes flying down and crashes in his backyard. So he runs up to the crater to take a look, and can you guess what was in there? What? Hilo. So there's a boy, his age, in the crater, wearing silver underpants. And then we're off to the races. So Hilo, like I said, is a story that's going to be told in 6 parts. And the fun about Hilo is when he lands, he doesn't remember anything about himself. He actually at first doesn't even remember his own name. And what the story is about is just uncovering this mystery of who he is, why he's here, why these giant robots seem to be chasing him around trying to destroy them. And it's both funny and kind of loaded with action. It kind of feels like a Pixar movie you can hold in your hand. Yes, you have a question.
Why is the look of him supposed to be based on you?
No, I just don't draw very well, so everyone kind of looks at me. Like the picture of my son, the picture of Hilo, the picture of me when I was little. I don't have a lot of range, we'll say. So, here's the Empire State Building again. When I finished the book, and the book was coming out, my publisher said, you're going to go talk to kids and talk to bookstores. And I knew I wanted to tell you guys about how I made Hilo, but when I was thinking about it, it occurred to me that Hilo is a lot like my King Kong drawing. Remember the drawing King Kong, right? When I draw the entire building first, and all I really want to do is get King Kong on top. I kind of feel like everything I've been doing up to this point, like comic strips and animated series and superhero books, it's been like, I kind of been like drawing the building. When the thing is, all I really want to do is draw the thing at the top. And I think now the thing at the top is Hilo. That's what I want to have been doing all along. I think I want to have been doing this little guy at the top who's Hilo, but now I don't have to do the building anymore. I just get to do him. So I've kind of come full circle. Remember when I said I was a kid, I used to draw pictures and watch TV, like half-watch TV all the time? Well, full circle, meaning, do you know what it means? You start in one place, you go in a full circle, you have a whole journey, you come right back where you started. Well, there I am at 9 years old, drawing cartoons and half-watching TV. Now I'm 45, and I spend a lot of my days drawing cartoons while I'm half-watching television. The fun part is now I get to do the story that I really, really love. So, that is a story about how I came up with Hilo and stuff. So thank you guys. Woo! Are you done with the questions? Because now is the time to ask the questions. Does anybody have any other questions? Jan's got one, so you gotta wait. You've asked like 5 already. Yes?
When you did it, do you know the story arc for all 6? I mean, did you plan it out, or did you do the first book and then decide you were going to do 6?
I always knew where the ending was, but the interesting part is that my original plan, sort of a plan, I was gonna we'll do like 20 of these. I was gonna do like a TV series or like comic book series. We'll do 20 of these. It was actually my editor, Shana Corey, who's a very good editor. When we were talking about it, Shana, who'd read the first draft, and when you read it, you'll see, we talk about things. We know who the big bad guy is and some of the mysteries given up. I didn't have any of that. I just had like just a hint of it. And it was Shana who suggested that, I don't know if you should do 20. I think you should move the story along much faster. I think the readers will want to know what's going on sooner. I don't think you should drag it out. You know, so she basically go back to the drawing board and figure out, what's the number that you could do this story in? And I sat down and sort of figured out where the breaks were. And it was actually very freeing for me. I think I developed some bad skills doing superhero comics. Because when you write about like Batman or Spider-Man, you can't change them too much. Like Batman's not going to grow up or become a different person. He's pretty much going from A to B. He's someone driven by revenge, and when you're done, he's going to be someone driven by revenge. With this, I knew I could make the characters different and do things. So yeah, by the time I was done with the first one, I always knew how it was going to end, but now Shana made me figure out the middle in a better way. But Matt, you should come up here too. We're doing Q&A now.
All right. Here's my question. How long does it take you to do a book? That's what I was going to ask.
The first one took about a year and a half, and now they're about a year. A little less, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
My colorist is slow. But aside from that, I'd say about a year door to door.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good year,
Oh, yeah.
Everyone should have our jobs.
Would you consider doing another series, or maybe a different series with the same character?
Maybe. I will probably, when Hilo's done, which I can't even fathom at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I can. The second book is done, and I'm drawing the third one right now. When it's done, I will probably do a couple of one-shot graphic novels first, and then I do have another series in mind. Except that one, I know the beginning, I have no idea what the ending is yet, so I have several years to figure it out. He's loud. Let's just follow up.
I do want to just say that, you know, these books have been great for Ezra and other kids his age, especially boys. I really think graphic novels, you think a different way. You're reading, but you're, you know, looking at the pictures. It's one of those things I've never gotten the hang of. I read the words and I skip the pictures, but
Right.
I think it's a different way of thinking. There doesn't seem to be too much between the age group that you guys are writing for and until you get to adult. There's a few things. I mean, maybe Bone is a little bit more.
No, I'm with
I don't
you.
know. I would love to see something a little older, like the 10 to 12 range.
Yeah, there's stuff for girls right now. There's like Raina has all of her things
Right.
and stuff like that.
And she's been reading those.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, and not that those are just for girls, but there's not a lot of punching in Smile. You know, she does get her tooth knocked out, but you know, it's,
That is a great
it's
action
by the
sequence.
streets.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't tell your sister those are just for girls.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, that part of the boy that wants like the big monsters punching each other out. That's not in those.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my son actually picked up Space Dumplings, which Craig Thompson did. And I gave it to him. I said, here, check this out. And he put it down very quickly. I said, why? And he's like, well, and I said, I need a reason. He just, I don't know, it was just, I don't know, it wasn't working for me. So I hadn't even read it yet, so I read the first 25 pages. I said, is it because there's a girl protagonist? The hero's a girl? Yeah. I said, you sit down there. I said, trust me, just keep reading. And then when he got to like the giant whale attacking the space station, he was in there. But you're right. I mean, it's different from when Matt and I were kids. We were able to read superhero comics, no problem.
And that's all there was. There weren't
Yeah.
any comics
Right.
for non-kids. At
Yeah,
that point.
and they were all ages, and they were perfectly appropriate. So I mean, I have to admit, I've been part of the problem. I spent 11 years writing superhero comics, and when you read those articles in the New York Times, like Pam, bow, comics aren't for kids anymore. Well, that actually happened. We started, you know, making them grittier and tougher and whatnot until before we knew it. Like, yeah, they really are. They didn't become all ages comics. They were closer to video games, that, you know, for teenagers and for older kids. But we're trying to narrow that gap, some of us. So I like to think of Hilo as all ages, but I probably will do stuff which even reaches a little bit further. Because I'm with you, that it seems that, you know,
Well, your kid is 10, so you're probably looking for that next step
yeah,
as well.
yeah, you know, these, this is kind of 8 to 12. I mean, it depends. Like, I think for the regular comic book reader, like a teenage comic book reader, I've been hearing from them that they like it just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of see it. They go, yeah, it's like a Pixar movie. You know, it's not. But then they ask me when I'm going to go, you know, start writing Batman again. Because that's what they like. But I think the pendulum is beginning to swing back the other way. I think, you know, Matt can attest this more than anybody that, you know, there are, you know, kids' graphic novel sections in bookstores now.
Which did not exist.
Just a couple years ago.
Absolutely.
It's like just sort of,
And they're starting to grade them as well. So
Right.
there's like a YA and there's
yeah.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yes,
Your
Ezra.
question?
What can you do for you?
Can you see the end of book 2?
No.
No. No one's supposed to see the end of book 2 yet. When does book 2 come out?
Comes out May 2016. They come out
Okay.
every 9 months.
Can I tell you something?
No, not about book 2.
No.
You can whisper
Okay.
it to us later. Tell Matt. that.
About what?
A couple years ago, I was in a school called Pinehurst, and my mom invited you over there,
Oh,
and I got one of my Squish books signed.
nice.
Do you remember that? We went to school.
Sure.
That was you.
That was you, the one school I've ever been to in the Seattle area.
Me? You don't remember me?
I remember you actually. I'm like, what? Why is she in the audience? Okay.
Are you guys going to do a sequel to Sunny Side Up? Are you considering doing a sequel to Sunny Side Up?
We're just trying to rack our brains. That's the problem with anything that's like sort of autobio. It's like, what childhood memories do you mine that we haven't mined enough already? You know, because so much of our stuff goes into Babymouse and Squish and all Jenny's other novels and everything.
Right.
So we got to figure out what we can put into that. So we'll do that. And we're doing more Squish and more Babymouse. I'm gonna have to work on the next Squish next, which is gonna be called Pod versus Pod.
And I just heard about the, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it,
Probably.
picture book?
Yes, that you're allowed to say. Okay, like there's so many things in the works. Yes, we're doing a Baby Mouse picture book too.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
For
and
the
the
young
board
kids.
books.
And we've got board books coming out. Those aren't Baby Mouse, but they're cartoons.
Oh, cool.
So
Awesome.
comics, more comics for kids.
Awesome.
For every age bracket. We'll get there.
Yeah,
We'll get them all.
yeah, absolutely.
Other questions?
Any other questions at all?
Hmm.
If not, then we can sign some books.
Yeah, let's do it.